and welcome to Teacher's Corner. Today we're going to do something a little different, but before we get into it, don't forget, if you like what you see, click that like and subscribe button so that you'll be notified, and ring the bell so you'll be notified when I make a new video. And please consider joining the channel in order to support Teacher's Corner even more. Alright, so here we go into it. So this video, this is actually going to be the first in a series of videos where I go into how to boost different energy types for your build, the most efficient way or the best things to use for boosting different energy types. Because the biggest question we get asked is, biggest thing we get told is, well, I'll use whatever energy type you tell me to. I want to use the best. And the reality is that any energy type can perform at top end levels as long as you know how to boost it. So that's what we're going to get into today. This does not mean I'm going to go over every one of these in detail. I'm going to go over the most common ones and why we use them. Alright, so here we go. First most common one, and these are probably the most important ones, are the vulnerability locators. These are available from the Fleet Spire for a cost of fleet credits and dilithium. These consoles not only give a large amount of phaser damage specifically, but they also boost critical chance, meaning they increase the chance that you're going to have a critical hit. Okay, so this will make up, assuming you have a ship with 5 tactical consoles, this will make up at least 3. Okay, if you have a ship that has a universal console, it's probably going to make up 4 of them. And then we have the energetic Proto matter matrix infuser. So just like the vulnerability locator, this gives a large amount of phaser damage, and that's incorrect there. A large amount of phaser damage, but it also gives some projectile weapon damage. But the biggest reason to have it or to use it is that it also gives some survivability based on certain stats, and of course you can look that up. This is available from the colony world, and your colony must be tier 5 in order to get it, or you have to ask for an invite to a tier 5 colony world. Okay, so those 2 are the most common. Usually people will have 1, maybe 2 of these. Alright, and again, that's a tactical console. So next up, the rest of the consoles, well, actually let's talk about another tactical console. So the only other tactical console that you would have would be the Lorca's custom fire controls. Now this one comes from the Discovery reputation, and this gives a large amount of critical chance. It gives +6 to the weapon power setting, and gives a large amount of starship shield penetration. Okay, at Mark 15 Epic you're looking at 157.5 starship shield pen, +7.9 weapon power setting, and +3.9% critical chance. Now this one does have to go in a tactical slot. So most ships, assuming you have 5 tactical consoles with a universal slot, if you've done the upgrade to the tier 6X, you would then have 6 slots available to use for tactical consoles, basically, because that's what you want to do. So you would have 3 or 4 of these, usually probably 4, at least 1 of these, that would make 5, and then the Lorca's custom fire console, and that would make your 6. Okay, so 1 of them would have to go in the universal slot. Okay, moving on. So the rest of the consoles that you're going to use to boost phaser damage specifically are going to be universal consoles, meaning they can go in any slot. So they're going to go in your engineering or your science slots, respectively. All right. So the first one and most common is going to be your approaching agony. Why approaching agony? It gives 15% phaser damage. Okay, that's pretty good. But it also gives critical chance, and it has a clickable hazard or clickable ability that does a good amount of damage, and that is phaser damage, meaning that damage will be boosted by everything you put on there that boosts phaser damage. Okay, so that's important that you can, in other words, you can get that hazard ability up to silly amounts of damage because you're putting it on a phaser build, and it's based on phaser damage. Okay, so approaching agony, definitely one you want to have if you're doing a phaser build. And this comes out of a lockbox. You can pick it up off of the exchange for about 10 to 15 million. Okay, the next one that you're going to want to look at getting is the Ordinance Accelerator. This comes from the Gamma reputation, and this has 20% phaser directed energy weapon damage. It's just a straight boost to energy weapon damage. It has other things, but that's really what you want it for. And then the next one on the list, and I'm doing these in order of importance or what you want here, the Domino. The Domino comes from the Bajoran Interceptor. This was an anniversary ship, so if you were playing at the time when it was available, then you got it for free. If not, you'll have to use a Phoenix token at the ultra rare, I believe, in order to get this console, and per character that you decide to get it on. And this gives 15% phaser damage, but it also gives a nice clickable ability. Here it is. So when you click on it for 10 seconds, it gives you plus 25% firing cycle haste for energy weapons, plus 25% bonus all damage. That is huge. Plus 25% bonus recharge speed for bridge officer abilities. That's pretty good. Plus 100% recharge speed for torpedo weapons if you're using them. That's good. And if you defeat a foe, plus 2-second duration to all effects. May only occur 10 times. So you can double, or not double, you can literally have it going for 30 seconds total. Okay, out of 2 minutes. Now it is worth noting that if you defeat a foe means you have to get the kill credit. If somebody else on your team gets the kill credit, that does not count for you. And that's why you only see this on phaser builds now instead of all builds. Okay, so, and then the last one that you would want to consider would be the quantum phase converter. So the quantum phase converter comes from the mission Sunrise, and it's really not much to write home about, but it is universal, so you can put it anywhere, and it does have 20% phaser damage with a hot restart on auxiliary, plus 3 auxiliary power, and some starship drain expertise that scales. Okay, so basically this would be if you have room, or if you can't get either the Domino or the Ordinance Accelerator, then you'd go for this. Okay, so there you go. Those are the big things, okay, that's what I was doing. Okay, that are the big consoles that you want to look for. So after that, you're going to want to look and get the Trilithium laced weaponry 2-piece. I'm going to explain why here. And the 2-piece, so you're going to look for the console, which is an engineering console called Reinforced Armaments. Now this gives a good amount of power transfer rate, starship hull restoration, and starship hull capacity. Now, in and of itself, that doesn't help a phaser build, but when you combine it with a second piece of the set, the Trilithium Enhanced Omnidirectional Phaser Beam Array or the Trilithium Enhanced Phaser Turret, depending on whether you're going cannons or beams. So this has a couple good things. First of all, for either the phaser or the turret, there's a 2.5% chance that you gain 10% firing cycle haste for all your weapons for 15 seconds. That in and of itself is a good enough reason to slot the Trilithium Enhanced phasers, either the turret or the Omni, depending on whether you're going beams or cannons. But when you take a look at the two-piece set, you have speed tweaks. Now this gives you, stop jumping! This gives you 5% firing cycle haste for energy weapons. That is always on. And it gives you plus 15 flight speed. Oh my goodness! Stop jumping around! Plus 15 flight speed for 15 seconds. Sorry, plus 15 flight speed. And that again is always on. So, important to note, this is a really cheap way, because this is a mission reward from Beyond the Nexus. Both of these are. So this is a really cheap way to get a pretty darn good reward, and the console is pretty powerful as far as resistances and healing, and power transfer rate is always good for an energy weapon build. But the bonus for the Trilithium Enhanced is good as well. Alright, so you get individually good bonuses and stats, as well as the good two-piece there. So that's something you'd want to add to a phaser build. Now, moving right along, let's take a look at, now I mentioned before about the Lorca's custom fire controls. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at, as well, we're going to take a look at the wide angle dual heavy beam bank. Now this comes from the Discovery Reputation, as well as Lorca's custom fire controls. Now this one comes out with 4% crit chance, has the standard phaser bonus of 2.5% chance one random subsystem offline for 5 seconds, but the beam itself also has a bonus critical strikes. That means critical hits. When you add, or when you have a critical hit, plus 1% bonus damage to this weapon for 20 seconds, up to 20%. So that means this weapon hits up to 20% harder, and that's category 2 damage because we see the bonus. So that's really what you want. Now, let's take a look at the two-piece set bonus. Now it's a passive bonus, which means you don't have to click anything for it. It's always on. On crit, that means whenever you make a critical hit, plus 1% critical severity buff for 20 seconds, stacks up to 25. Now, if you've put on your vulnerability locators and your Lorca's custom fire, which adds another 3% or 4% critical chance, and you've done other things, the other things that are generally recommended to boost your critical chance, you're going to have a critical chance of about 20, 25, 30%, somewhere in there, as a base, without anything buffed. So that means that about 1 out of every 3 to 4 fires is going to be a critical hit. So this is going to be popping off and stacking all the time. Okay, so stacks up to 25. So you basically get, it's not going to be that difficult to get up to plus 25 critical severity. So now not only are you critting all the time, but your critical hits are hitting that much harder. Okay? So definitely a good bonus to have. And since you're doing a phaser build anyway, you've got phaser variant here, may as well use it. Okay? So in short, for phaser builds, the special things you want to look for, or the special consoles you want to look for: vulnerability locators, your energetic proto matter matrix infuser. Generally you want this to be about 3 or 4, this to be 1 or 2, and then your Lorca's custom fire console to round out your tactical. Okay, for your universal consoles that boost phaser, you want your approaching Agony, considered a must-have. You want your Ordinance Accelerator, Domino, and Quantum Phase Converter, as many of these as you can get, with Quantum Phase Converter being the least important of them. And then finally, to round it out for special bonuses that are phaser related, you want the Trilithium Enhanced Omnidirectional or Turret, and the Reinforced Armaments Console, and round out the Lorca's custom fire controls with the wide angle dual heavy beam bank from the Discovery Reputation. Alright, and the only other thing, if you wanted a little bit of extra and you haven't decided on a space set yet, then you can get the Bajoran, any 2 pieces of the Bajoran space set from the mission Scylla and Charybdis. Any of those, any 2 pieces of those would give a small bonus to phaser damage. Alright, so pick and choose your consoles, consider your phaser build carefully. These are the consoles that I've pointed out that are the most common and effective. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments below. And I hope you learned something.